Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to getting genuinely informed without feeling overwhelmed. Yesterday in Major League Baseball.
Wow. We saw pretty much the whole spectrum, didn't we? From absolute blowouts to those, one-run games that just keep you on the edge of your seat.
Yep.
So our goal today isn't just to run through the scores. Nah, we want to dig into the key moments, the surprising performances, the strategies that really decided these games. Think of this as your quick way to grasp not just what went down, but what it all means for the bigger picture of this season. So yeah, let's get into it.
It really is fascinating. Just looking at one day's slate tells you so much about baseball's unpredictability. And when you dig in, you see these totally different stories playing out, teams fighting for the playoffs, others maybe building for the future. It's all about figuring out the why, right? Why did this happen and how does it affect things going forward? Exactly. And speaking of surprises, let's start with one that probably raised some eyebrows. The Detroit Tigers blanking the Houston Astros. 10-0. I mean, that was completely one-sided. Amazing pitching by the Tigers. And honestly, the Astros bats just seemed quiet. Really quiet for them.
Yeah, that's a big one. It's a reminder, isn't it? Even the best teams can have those days where just nothing clicks offensively. And for a developing team like the Tigers, that's a massive confidence shot in the arm. Shows what their pitching staff is capable of.
Good point. It kind of sets a tone for both sides, maybe. And, while the Tigers were doing that, we saw some other games really dominated by pitching, too. The Reds did a nice job shutting down the Angels 4-1. And Cleveland, too strong pitching, got them a 3-1 win over the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, those games really highlight how vital good starting pitching is, especially when runs are tough to come by. They felt like classic pitching duels,
Yeah.
where one team just manages to scrape together enough offense and the pitching makes it stand up.
Right.
Yeah.
Executing just enough. Okay, so from those tight pitcher-led games, let's flip the script completely, because we also saw some serious offense yesterday. The Phillies, for example, just hammered the Mariners 12-7. That was a real slugfest. And the Philly lineup just looked relentless, very potent.
Well, and those high-scoring games, they show you the other side of the coin, right? They highlight offensive strength, sure, but they can also expose some weaknesses in a pitching staff, maybe the bullpen depth.
Yeah,
The
definitely.
Phillies just kept the pressure on, didn't let up. Seattle couldn't quite contain them.
It makes for a long night for the pitchers. And it wasn't just the Phillies letting up the scoreboard. The White Sox beat the Braves 13-9, another one where the offense was just nonstop, lead changes. Wild game. And the Cardinals looked really strong offensively, too, beating the Marlins 8-3.
It just shows you the kind of firepower there is around the league these days. It's tough for pitchers. Hitters are so talented, they punish mistakes. And sometimes, like you saw, even if your team scores a bunch, it might not be enough if your pitching can't hold the line.
That's true. A tough balance. Oh, and we should mention the Cubs beating the Brewers 6-4, another division game, NL Central, pretty back and forth offensively. The Cubs managed to capitalize on some timely hits, maybe a few Brewer mistakes, too.
Right. Divisional context always adds a layer.
Okay, now let's shift again. Let's talk about the games that kept us biting our nails, the really close ones. The Pirates got past the Blue Jays 5-2. That felt like a really hard-fought game. Good pitching, but also some clutch hitting when needed.
Yeah, and those close ones, they really underscore the parity across the league, don't they? It often comes down to just executing in those huge moments, a sac fly, moving a runner, getting that strikeout with guys on base. Fundamentals become so big.
Absolutely. Every play matters. We also saw the Royals squeak by the Rangers 4-3. That was another tight one. Felt like a pitching duel where KC just found that one extra run. And the Giants got a 4-3 win over the Padres, too. Kind of a classic NL West battle, low scoring, grind it out type of game.
Exactly. And in those tight games, pitching and defense are just magnified, aren't they? Every run feels huge, preventing runs with good defense, turning double plays. It's often the difference.
It really is. And, speaking of tight games and maybe unexpected results, how about the Rockies beating the Dodgers 4-3? Some might call that a bit of an upset, right? It was close. And the Rockies managed to hang on against that really, really good Dodger lineup.
Yeah, that's a great example. It just reminds you, again, that on any given day in baseball, anything can happen. No team is unbeatable. It shows how solid defense and maybe some good bullpen work can sometimes neutralize even the most powerful offenses, holds them just enough.
Holds them just enough. Yeah. Good way to put it. And sticking with intense games, let's touch on those divisional rivalries specifically. The Orioles got a big win over the Red Sox, 6-3. Classic AL East feel to that one, back and forth, some high leverage spots.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And winning those divisional games is just massive. especially for a team like Baltimore in that incredibly tough division.
Yeah.
Those wins count a little extra, you could say. They directly impact the standings, the tiebreakers.
Yeah.
It's more than just one win. Builds momentum, puts pressure on rivals.
For sure. And we mentioned the Giants, Padres, and Cubs-Brewers games earlier.
Right.
Those are more perfect examples of how intense those divisional games get, often decided by fine margins, adds real drama.
Absolutely.
So, wrapping this all up, what does yesterday really tell us? If you're following along, what are the big takeaways? We saw dominant pitching, we saw offensive fireworks, and we saw a whole bunch of games that were nail-biters right to the end.
I think the biggest thing, if you zoom out, is the parity.
Yeah.
It's just so evident across the league right now. You see upsets, you see close games constantly. It really hammers home that predictability is kind of out the window day to day. And that's what makes baseball so captivating, right? That inherent unpredictability.
Yeah, it definitely keeps you guessing. And the other thing that stood out to me was just how crucial timely hitting was. It wasn't always about piling up hits, but getting that hit with runners on or in a key spot late in the game,
Yeah.
individual players really stepping up.
Exactly, those clutch moments. And all these results, they feed into the bigger story, don't they? They shift standings, influence playoff races, affect player confidence. It gives you real insight into who's playing well, where teams might be vulnerable, and which players are really making a difference right now.
So, yeah, by digging into just one day like this, you get a much richer picture of what's happening across the league. It's way more than just looking at the scores.
Definitely. And maybe here's something for you to think about. How much do these little moments, these sort of micro narratives, one great pitching start, one clutch hit, how much do they start to build a team's identity over 162 games? Or, shape a player's whole season story? Like, does one bad off day really mean that much for a top team? Or does one big statement win truly shift the trajectory for a team that's trying to build something? How much weight do those single days actually carry in the long run?
That's a great question. Something to definitely keep in mind as the season rolls on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into yesterday's baseball action. Hopefully you can keep exploring the game with some fresh perspective.